know what my favorite dinner is, Sib? Bullock's heart with veal stuffing and currant jelly. Do you ever have that at Colonel Stormont's? You must never mention such a dish, Jenny. It's positively revolting. But you used to like it, and liver and bacon and sheep's head with parsley and butter. But never mind your dinners. Tell me about your beau. Marian says that young Mr. Stormont was in love with her until you lured him away. Marian is a fool. You must have lots of lovers now that you go into such grand society, Sib, because you are the beauty of the family, you know. We all know that, and that's what makes Marian so cross sometimes. I'm nobody, she says, and then she squeezes her waist in another half-inch and fancies she has got the better of you. She's awfully proud of her figure, you know. You mustn't talk disrespectfully of your elder sister, Jenny, remonstrates Sybil, yawning. The plebeian 2:00 dinner and the game of croquet in the afternoon sun had made her sleepy. Then I won't talk of her at all. Tell me about your lovers, Sib. That's a deal more interesting. Nonsense, child. I have no lovers. But you had one once. Yes, I saw somebody who was in love with you once, though he must have gone down in the world dreadfully since you had had anything to say to him, for he looked little better than a beggar when I saw him. Sybil has sunk into a reclining attitude with half-closed eyes and is dropping into a gentle doze. But at this speech of Jane's, she starts into a sitting posture again and looks intently at her sister, very pale. What do you mean? She cries. What was he like? Where did you see him? When? Tell me all about it this instant. Ah, I see you know the person I speak of. You wouldn't be in such a way if you didn't. How pale you are, Sybil. Do you care for him very much? Will you tell me what you are talking about, child? Exclaimed Sybil passionately. Jane begins her story with deliberation and importance. I have always kept it a secret, she prefaces, feeling that it might get you into a row with Uncle and Marian. And I've wanted to tell you about it ever since you came home, but I've never had a chance of being alone with you till this afternoon. For goodness sake, go on. What was the man like? Very handsome and noble-looking, though his clothes were dreadfully shabby. His coat was shabbier than Uncle's, snuff and all, but it looked as if it had been a more gentlemanly coat in its day. And as for his poor boots, it made my heart bleed to see them. I wanted to give him my new shilling, one Uncle Robert gave me on Christmas Day, for it was the day after New Year's Day that I saw the man, you know. I know nothing. Never mind how you came by the shilling. But he pushed away my hand gently and said, No, my dear, I'm not a beggar, though I dare say I look like one. Poor fellow, sighs Sybil. Oh, Sybil, I did feel so ashamed of myself for having offered him that shilling, ever so much ashameder than he did, adds Jenny, coining a comparative in the impetuosity of her speech. Can't you tell me about it straight, beginning at the beginning? Demands Sybil impatiently. Well, it was the day after New Year's Day. I detest New Year's Day, church in the morning and dullness in the afternoon. And I came into the garden to have a run all by myself and to get out of Marian's way. It was a little after 4 between the lights, you know, and a wretchedly cold afternoon. Well, you know the lane at the bottom of the garden. Of course, says Sybil, with an involuntary glance in that direction. Beyond the plot of lucerne, there's a low wall, and on the other side of the wall, an accommodation road leading to a neighboring farm. Well, he was there, looking over the wall, and he beckoned to me. I was afraid at first, thinking he might be a robber, but as I had nothing but my hoop to be robbed of, I went up to the wall to look at him, and then I saw, somehow in a moment, that he was a gentleman, though I'm sure you wouldn't have given tuppence for his hat." "What did he say?" "He asked me if my name was Faunthorpe, and then if I had a sister called Sybil." "Yes," says I, "but she's away in London." "Where?" says he. "At Mrs. Hazelton's, Lowther Street, Eccleston Square," says I. "Is that all you know about her?" says he. "What more can I know about her?" says I. "She's very happy, I believe, and she's very well. At least she was when Uncle heard from her last." "When was that?" says he. "About 3 weeks ago," says I. And then he sighed heavily, and he looked so white and tired that I pitied him with all my heart. "Poor fellow," sighed Sybil again. "Ah, you do know him then?"